Well, howdy everybody, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician. I am finally getting out from underneath, almost literally, this Nissan. And once I do, up next is going to be this Ford. So, finally moving forward on some of these failures that I have, but, you know, life without challenges is a life not worth living. Okay, so on the Nissan 2.5, if you're running a Spec V or a Type R Nissan, and you need to pull the cylinder head or you need to pull the timing cover, you are going to have to dismantle basically the bottom half of the engine. The factory is going to tell you to pull the engine. I have found a way to use an engine support bar and suspend the engine inside of the car without having to actually pull the engine, so that way we can get the timing cover off and move forward. I'm very thankful to my friend and customer with who I've been working with over this job for getting me the engine bar that I need and for working with me and all that other stuff. So, all right, so let's put all the past behind us and let's move forward and get this car back on the road. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to use your engine support bar and you're going to support your engine. Now, I went ahead and pulled the cylinder head off of this engine. The cylinder head was originally redone anyways. I put it back on, but I went ahead and pulled it back off so I could get in here and work and correct some mistakes and get some things fixed. So I've got my engine support bar with my engine suspended. Now, what we need to do is we need to remove the exhaust that stretches the bottom part of this engine. We also need to get rid of the motor mounts. We need to remove the motor mounts and get those off front and back. And then we need to get the cross member frame off. And then we also need to get the AC compressor off. And then once we've done that, we will have access to our secondary oil pan here that runs the whole length of the engine, and then we'll be able to get that off, and then we will be able to finish this job out and get everything moving forward. The first thing I'm actually going to do is disconnect the AC compressor, but while I'm working on that, I've went ahead and soaked my exhaust bolts with PB Blaster. And in case you're wondering, you can pick up this engine support bar at Harbor Freight fairly cheap. Now I'm going to use a 12 millimeter ratcheting wrench, and I've already got these loose actually. Now I'm going to remove the AC compressor from the engine, but I'm not going to disconnect my lines, saving my Freon and close to about anywhere between $60 to $100 worth of supplies. So, and you know, that's, if you're ever doing major engine work, sometimes you do have to disconnect the AC compressor. But if you want to save some money, you can just leave it the way it is and not disconnect it, and then you won't spend money on Freon, and you'll be good there. So I'm going to put you guys on pause here for just a second while I use both my hands to get this off. Alright, so as you can see, I'm literally just going to let the AC compressor sit out of my way. Out of my way just enough so I can get in here and get this work finished up. And just for reference or for an idea, any job that requires you to remove the AC compressor, think ahead and look and see if you can get away with just moving it out of the way versus completely disconnecting it. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to my motor mount, and I need to go get some tools and wrenches for that. Okay, so moving on to the engine mounts. I am going to suggest at least a decent breaker bar. I would use my air in here, but I have a limited amount of clearance between the AC condenser and here. My gun won't make that clearance, and I don't want to cause any damage to the condenser pulling out an engine mount. So, yeah, you're going to use I believe a 14 millimeter socket. Yes, is that? Yeah, that's going to be a 14 millimeter socket, and then I'm going to use my breaker bar. Alright, now that I got this motor mount disconnected, I'm just going to leave it bolted to the cross member down there and drop it down with the cross member. I'm going to go back here to the back. I'm going to see if I can do the same thing to this back one. I'm going to go ahead and just take the mount out that you see there, leaving the bracket still connected to the engine block, and see if I can just drop that down all as one piece. Should be able to. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. So now that I got the front one disconnected, my AC separated. I'm going to kind of crawl to the back here and get this motor mount disconnected. Alright, so now I've got my rear mount loose and disconnected. So now it's time to go do the fun part. It's time to crawl underneath here. I'm going to tell you something. If you're going to do this job and you're going to crawl underneath here in your backyard like this, if I were in a shop right now, I'd be doing it on a lift, this under the car part, I believe. And I think I still might use an engine bar. I just think I'd lift the car up and get underneath there. So you better make sure that you're set up and you're comfortable with what you got set up. 3-point jack system and everything else, so you don't end up getting squished. So we're going to crawl up underneath here. All the way to the back right here. And I believe those are going to be 13mm exhaust hangers for the bolts there. And then we're going to get out the gun. We're going to get this cross member out and go from there. Alright, so I got the bolts for my exhaust hangers out of the way. And so now I'm going to remove this bottom cross member. I am going to go ahead and use the gun to get underneath there in a 17mm socket. Alright, so I've got the AC compressor disconnected, the front motor mount, the rear motor mount, and now I'm working on getting the bottom cross member removed and out of the way so I can remove the secondary oil pan, or the bottom half of this engine, and get this job finished. Okay, so and again, make sure you're safe on all levels with everything that you're doing. I know that some people wouldn't even agree with me doing this in my backyard, but it can be done and you can do it yourself. On this job, I would only recommend it if you are 100% extremely comfortable. So I got that back cross member, the bolts, the exhaust hanger there disconnected. That was 12mm, and then two 17mm. And actually, once I get this out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and put those bolts back. So you can kind of see there how I got that disconnected. Now we're going to come up front here, and we're going to get the front two disconnected and get this out of the way so we can continue working. Fun, folks. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. There you go. So now you've got your cross member out. So now the next thing to do is to get the exhaust out. And again, you're doing this so you can get the secondary oil pan off, so you can get the timing cover off. And if you see, I kind of changed some things up here. If at any moment you do not feel comfortable underneath here, don't hesitate to change things up. Because again, you've got this engine sitting in here without any motor mounts and it's suspended. Alright, so now then, the next thing to do is to get this exhaust out of here. And I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to see if I can drop it down without having to take those back bolts off. If I can drop it down enough so then I can get the secondary pan off, then that's what I'll do. And you can kind of already get to see underneath here where it is at. This is where the cross member was. So we need to get all the way back up into here to get this second oil pan off and open this all the way up. And that's so you can get the timing cover off on the 2.5 liter engine. So that's where I'm going to work next. I'm going to work on the exhaust and see how that goes. My neighbor scared me. Alright, so I decided that since I got the exhaust manifold out of the way, I'll have enough room to clear, and I do not need to completely remove the exhaust pipe. Okay, I can take it and push it down without breaking anything, get my secondary pan out and go from there. So here we are now. We're at the secondary pan. I had to do this on a 3.0 once, so we're going to have one 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then internally 8, 9. So you got 2 internal bolts here. And that's so you can get your secondary pan off, so you can clear your oil filter, so you can get your main pan off. Alright, so I'm going to get to work on that. And hopefully I have enough video footage here to show you. One thing I want to let you know is you do have to go ahead and get rid of the rear engine mount bracket, because it bolts to the bottom right here. So I'm going to remove that next. Alright, so I got my bracket out, and I've already begun getting my bolts out for my secondary pan, as you can see. So now I'm going to switch to a 12 millimeter and see if I can't get this to a good stopping point today. And there you have it, folks. Now, this is a major milestone for me, because this now means I can move forward and finish rebuilding this engine. And I just want to thank the owner for understanding that I'm still learning how to run a business, and for helping me get what I need to go ahead and get this finished out. So I've got the secondary oil pan removed, the primary oil pan removed. That allowed me to get my timing cover off, and that will allow me to now get in here and finish this job up. I'm going to replace all this brand new oil pump, chains, everything will be brand new inside of here. So I'm very excited about this, and this was an extremely tough lesson learned when it comes to anybody can turn a wrench, but to make a living doing it, to do it so that it benefits you and others, is something that I'm definitely learning. So I'm pretty excited about this. All right, so let's review. The first thing I did was I used 12 millimeters, and I removed the AC compressor from the engine. I didn't disconnect it. Then after that, I got rid of my exhaust manifold. I just kind of have that set aside, and I dropped my main exhaust all the way to the back. I didn't fully disconnect it. Some people might want to go ahead and fully disconnect it. I just let it drop enough to get out of the way. Once I got that out, I also got rid of my cross member front to back, including my front and rear engine mounts, suspending my engine, and I have a scissor jack set up as well, just to kind of help with some of the load here. And then I went ahead and got my primary pan removed and my secondary pan removed. That allowed me to remove my my timing cover, and we're good. So yes, we are good to go. Oh, so I think the good thing about my victories and failures is this: I'm never going to stop doing this. I'm never going to give up. No, this is what I do. This is what I've been doing for a long time. And so somebody had mentioned to me the other day, they said, boy, I bet you've been real deep into a lot of different engines, huh? And I said, actually I have. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask me? Anything that I've seen before? And that's ultimately why I'm here, folks. So here you go. Here's how to remove the timing cover off of a Nissan 2.5 liter. Now this is the 2.5 liter only, and you can definitely do it without removing the whole engine and saving yourself a little bit of time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm fluent on many different makes and models. I've been there and I've done that. So let's put our heads together and let's see if we can help you get your vehicle back on the road. All right, everybody, this is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for watching. I am signing off.